It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Check out their Facebook page. They're going to be having a big announcement. They announced it. They said they were going to have a big announcement coming 10 days ago. We're all waiting. I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, you're Scratch Man Dan today, by the way.
I brought a little bit back from that hotel room in Knoxville.
Me too.
I'm not surprised I got infected when we laid down to that hotel room.
Yeah, I took my last Z-Pack pill today. So.
Struggle along with me today as it is a special live edition of the front stretch brought to you by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Boy, we got an exciting 38 laps to talk about for Bristol, huh?
Well, we got the 10 laps between the two rain showers, and that second one was a deluge. So
we are live today because we expected to have 500 laps at the fastest short track in America last night, but instead we got 38 laps, and Mother Nature intervened with a deluge, as Dirk said. So we are rescheduled for noon today, but we have a lot coming up for you. We're working on getting Stan Caesar on the show to talk about the racing action last night at Eagle Raceway. We'll also cover some of the NASCAR news and notes. Boy, there's been a lot that has happened since we were on the air last week. A lot of big signings, a lot of big news that has gone through the NASCAR ranks, and so we'll talk about a lot about that. But I think the biggest story of the day, at least as far as the front stretch is concerned, is we are finally ready to announce our next 5-week contest.
yeah, buddy.
It is going to be huge. And the plan is we're going to announce it coming up in turn number 2. So anybody that has ever considered being a part of our fantasy league, you want to make sure and stay around to about 8:15 in turn number 2, and we're going to make that big announcement. And I'm really excited about it because, Dirk, you put a lot of legwork into this. If my memory serves me correct, it was your idea to say, hey, let's try this. And we have literally been working on it for 2 years since you joined the show, working with teams to try to get somebody to come across and work with us on this. And we finally got all the pieces to fall into place.
Yeah, and I mean, my hope is going forward we can do this every year. And I mean, this is really going to be neat. And, I mean, if you've ever thought about, getting into the fantasy contest and want to dip your toe in and give it a little 5-week try, this would be the time to do it.
Well, and it's perfectly understandable. A season-long contest, that's 36 races. It spans, 9 months? It gets to be daunting to go through all the strategies and to make sure your picks are in on time. And are my picks in on Sunday? Are they in on Saturday? When do I need it? Is this an off weekend? It does get a little bit daunting to do that because most fantasy leagues are, football, the one that really created or really exploded the fantasy contest leagues. It's 17 weeks.
Right.
It's easy to do that, but this is 36 weeks. So it's understandable that people don't want to do a full 36-week contest. And so we created these little 5-week ones for 2 reasons. Those that don't want to do a full committed season, and the other ones that, when you do a 36-week contest, it really starts to get spanned out. And it's tough to recover when you have a couple of bad weeks.
Well, and that's just it. I know, for instance, my own brother has pretty much dropped out of the contest just because, he was getting snake bit every week. He had 6, 7, 8 races where he didn't get his guy finished like worse than 35th.
Yeah.
When you're out of it, it really makes it hard to find interest. But I'm pretty sure he'd be very interested in the next 5 weeks.
I think he would be too. So make sure you listen to that in turn number 2, and then in turn 3, that's where we're hopefully going to get Stan on the show. But if we're not able to reach Stan, because he was at Eagle pretty late last night, and I think he's been battling the same stuff that's been going around the area. I know a lot of people here at the radio stations have come down with what we've got. And
well, you guys just got one water bottle you pass around. So I know how that works.
Budgets are tight. But if not, in turn number 3, we will continue to cover some of the NASCAR news and notes throughout the area and some of the Midwest news and notes through dirt tracking, too. In turn number 4, as always, we will preview the upcoming race, which will be, after today's noon green flag drop for the Bristol race, next Sunday will be Michigan on NBC and MRN. But let's get to a couple of the news and notes as far as Bristol is concerned.
I was going to say, if we're going to talk about Bristol, obviously the weather was there all weekend. Yeah. I think the start of every race, was delayed a little bit. But if you missed the races, it was a great truck race, great Xfinity race, and
Help me with this real quick. I thought that the Eldora race was the only Wednesday race on the truck schedule. I never knew. I mean, it was a tri series weekend. All 3 series were at Bristol that weekend. Is that why they ran on Wednesday? Was because Cup Series would arrive Thursday with all their haulers? I mean, that's a lot of haulers to get into Bristol.
The only haulers that stay in the infield are the Cup Series haulers.
Okay.
Everybody comes in and unloads on pit road, and they pack all their stuff up. The Xfinity and the Truck Series are just one-day shows. So
they practice and then they run that same day.
Oh yeah, as an official, it was like you get to the track at like 4 a.m, and then you leave at like 3 a.m, and you go back to your motel and you take a shower and you pack and you head for the airport. Yeah, it's a very hard show on the officials, but now since they don't have series specific officials, it's a little bit different deal. The officials are going to be there, but it's the way it's always been. I mean, I think. They ran Bristol once in the late 90s, and they didn't run it for 3 or 4 years, and I think they've run it every year, I think since 2003.
Yeah.
And they always run some type of an odd race, either like a K&N late model race or a modified race. So one year they had the retired drivers deal with Pearson and all those guys in like some Indy-style roadsters, but they had a big wreck, and one of the Pearsons got hurt, and so they kind of got away from that. But I don't know what they had this week on Thursday.
I think it was mods again.
Was it?
That they've been running that for the last couple of years. But what? So then, was it because of it being such a packed series that they ran it on Wednesday? I'm a little confused as to why they didn't run it on Thursday. I expected trucks Thursday, Xfinity Friday, Cup Saturday.
Because the trucks were added.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
After the other program was already put together, and they've just left it that way.
Okay.
And it always seems to work. I mean, the crowd is usually decent for a truck race.
Yeah.
You know,
well, trucks at Bristol are just that's fun because
any race
that's your
at Bristol
ultimate.
is fun.
Yeah. It's been a little rough lately, but as far as the Cup Series is concerned, we'll talk about those modifications they made to the track and what your experience in racing, what that may do for today's race. But so I guess we can actually transition to that right now. But if you want to call in and weigh in on what some of the stuff we're talking about, you're welcome to call in. We love to talk to you. 402-573-0590 is the phone number. Again, 402-573-0590. We'd love to hear from the Fred Stretch listeners on their thoughts about the modifications coming up to Bristol, some of the different news and notes that we'll be discussing coming up in the show. So at first, we've heard about grinding the top groove, which is something that, was it at Martinsville they did that, or was that at Bristol they did that?
That was Bristol.
Okay, and they ground the top groove, hoping that it would add more grip.
Right. They were trying to make it a non-one lane on the bottom track, where Bristol got all this mystique because the bump and run became so famous. You couldn't pass on the top, so when you got to them, you used the horn and moved them out of the way, which about came to fruition on at the truck race on Wednesday.
Yeah.
When Brett Moffitt, who we interviewed last year on the show from Iowa, was in second place, and he got to the leader, which was Ben Kennedy, who we interviewed in May this year. Very nice young man. But as Moffitt said in the interview, he goes, I couldn't get to him enough to move him enough. Yeah. And
Ben
so Kennedy won the race.
Ben had an amazing white flag lap, turns 1 and 2, and really pulled away from Brett, and Brett, like Brett said, he wasn't able to get there. So now they've come back and they've polished the bottom groove. Now polishing to me says it's going to make it slick.
Well, polishing, actually, when it makes the concrete completely smooth, which is what they tried to do, that lets your whole tire work.
Okay.
The grinding part actually leaves the little grooves, kind of like the interstate does.
Yeah.
So, but the big part about the polishing is when they put the resin on, and I'm not exactly sure what the resin is. I do know they do something similar to that whenever they run indoor karting races, but the karting races, they usually use like a Coca-Cola syrup or something, because just something real sticky. And they only did it for like the bottom 18 inches of the track. And that's like Carl Edwards said last night during the caution after they'd run for a little bit because he had such a lousy restart. He goes, my tires must have been on the 19th inch, because he goes, I had no traction at all. So
yeah, and anything I'm seeing doesn't really talk about what the resin is. Just says that it was a cooperation between NASCAR and industry leaders. So
Well, I mean, they're big. They're real big with 3M. I mean, 3M's a big NASCAR sponsor, and they're a chemical company. You know, they make all kinds of tapes and adhesives and stuff. So, you know, my guess is they probably were involved with it, and it might have been something as simple as Coke syrup.
Yeah.
You know, and then supposedly they drug tires around on it to try and put some rubber in it.
Now, another one of the news stories that broke earlier this week was that young William Byron signs a multi-year contract with Hendrick Motorsports. He's going to drive for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series in 2017. This kid has absolutely exploded onto the scene. I mean, when you talk about somebody taking over a truck ride, you don't expect them to be 5 wins in, 3/4 of the way into the season.
Broke the rookie record of Kyle Busch.
It's truly insane how well this kid is doing, and he's obviously turning heads to the point where Rick Hendrick pulled him out of a Toyota ride and is going to put him in a Chevy ride next year.
Well, that's not unusual. I mean, Rick Hendrick, when he first signed Kyle Busch, he took him out of a Roush ride, you know. So that's not that unusual. But I'm very disappointed in the fact that they announced earlier this week that Jeff Gordon can't drive Junior's car at Michigan because of a previous commitment. But they've also, it looks like, I was hoping they would give Mr. Byron that ride in Michigan just to give him a shot. I mean, he's been in there in a truck, so he's qualified to run there. But they've said pretty much they're going to, if Junior does not come back this weekend, which is very doubtful that he will, it looks like Alex Bowman's going back in the ride.
Okay. And Alex deserves a good shot.
He did a good job. Was it New Hampshire where he ran it?
I think that was, yeah.
And he had a good run. It didn't finish up, but for 2/3 of the race, he was right there.
He was running really well. And Williams, it's an incredible story that his rise to fame. I mean, I had no idea he was coming from anywhere. I mean, when he won at Daytona in the Truck Series, I thought, well, that's cute. You know, he pulled one away at Daytona. Good for him. You know, Trevor Baynes got one. There's been guys that have won at Daytona and Talladega because super speedway races, that seems to be the thing, is that every once in a while somebody can pull a win out that they never sniff victory lane again.
Well, but, you know, and then you look at sometimes when they pull a win out, like when Brad Keselowski got his first win at Talladega driving for William Finch, you know, and he's turned into a heck of a driver. Yep. But it's really weird because you've had the Eric Jones phenomenon for the last couple years, and now here's another one right away. You know, you figure they come along every 20 or 25 years. Now, what are they going to come along every 2 or 3 years now? I mean, in 10 years is the Cup Series. Are you going to be old at 30?
Yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, you never do know. I mean, experience in this series is paramount. But these young phenoms are catching on so fast because we've begun to get to the generation now where they've been working on it sooner than the other drivers. You know, we talked to Brandon Jones at Iowa Speedway, and he hopped into a ride at 13, 14, which to me felt old. I mean, a lot of these guys are getting in karts at 3, 4, 5 years old, and they're picking up those little intangibles right away.
Well, and he also started in full-size car. He didn't do karts, you know, or micro midgets or anything like that. I think there's two phenomenons that have to do with any of this. When Jeff Gordon started in the early 90s, you saw one thing happen. When they'd give these young drivers a chance, they were usually in a beat-up piece of equipment that had maybe had 2 stubs put on it and whatever else. Now, all these kids are getting top-rate equipment. They're not getting in junk. They're getting in a good piece, which obviously is good.
And it feels kind of like, to me, like the middle pack organizations and the front running organizations are closer. The backpack organizations are still back there, but the middle and the front pack can be a little bit closer now that we've started to get this technical alliance that's been going on for about 3-4 years.
Right.
It's become very prevalent, and I believe, to me, it started with Stewart-Haas Racing and Hendrick. That was really kind of breaking the mold of how closely they worked together, and now you're starting to see it with a lot of other organizations.
Well, I mean, you know, they've the front or Furniture Row team out of Denver there. That's just a right hand of Joe Gibbs's organization and stuff. But to me, with these young drivers, with the other phenomenon I was going to get to is the video games. I mean, Denny Hamlin once said he learned how to drive Pocono on a video game, and I think these kids are on these video games for so long. I really think that's teaching them how to drive this stuff.
Well, for me, whenever I really want to know about a track, I have 2 sources. I talk to you, and then I go play my NASCAR game. And it's crazy to think of it, but a lot of engineers and teams and track presidents and all these guys had input on these tracks, and it really is pretty close to what these drivers are doing. Now, there's obviously certain parts of it that are far away from what it's really like, but they're starting to get very close to what the way the cars react on certain ways and the way you can make slight adjustments. And so you can begin to understand why these drivers are setting their corners up. You really want to understand how hard road course racing is. Go and race Watkins Glen or Sonoma on one of those games, and you begin to understand you have one bad corner and you're going to have 5 bad corners coming your way because it takes you forever to get back into your groove, and cars are just going to go whizzing by you. It's really, to your point, in the race simulators. These organizations have access to race simulators, and they'll go and race a couple hundred laps at these tracks and race a full race, and they'll get that's a lot of really good experience to understand how to get your car right. All right. One last thing I want to talk about before we go to break and announce the next big 5-week contest in turn number 2. I want to talk about the Eric Jones situation because that is really, really compelling to me right now. He signs a deal to go and race at Furniture Row Racing in their second car for 2017. Then Barney Vassar, the president for Furniture Row and Furniture Row Racing, said, we only expect Eric to be in the car for 1 year, which then you would assume Eric's going to move to Joe Gibbs Racing at the main stable in 2018, which they have 2 drivers that could be gone at that time. And if memory serves me right, it's Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth.
I believe those are correct.
Now, Matt came out later and said, I'm not in negotiations with Joe Gibbs Racing to extend my contract. His contract ends at the end of 2017.
Correct.
And this would be the time they would be working on extending that contract because they don't want to take it into 2017. If they want Matt there, and it's not to say Matt's not capable, but Matt's got Eric behind him. That if they've decided they want Eric, they're working on finding Eric a full-time sponsors and full-time this and full-time that. And so those negotiations probably haven't opened up for Matt. And if they haven't opened up at this point, I don't think they're going to.
Well, and Matt might be ready to go ahead and step back. I mean, he's got his boy running ARCA races and stuff now. He might be ready to just step back and say, hey, it's time. All these guys, he's been driving long enough. He's set for life money-wise. He doesn't need to get another paycheck.
And when Tony Stewart announced his retirement, and when he retires at the end of this year, Matt will be the old man on the full-time active circuit in 2017. He will be the oldest active driver, full-time active driver, excuse me. And Matt has said that he's not contemplating retirement at least for another couple of years. So it leads me to believe that 2017 will be Eric Jones at Furniture Row Racing, and then those 2 are going to swap rides for 2018.
It could very well be what's planned.
And that might be beneficial for Furniture Row because then they can get the experience of Matt. But then again, I've been thinking Furniture Row doesn't need that much more experience. They're doing really well with Martin Truex Jr., who's an incredibly talented driver. Maybe Furniture Row needs to say, let's go and grab a young guy and let Martin mentor that young guy rather than pick Matt Kenseth, who you're going to have to replace in a year or 2 anyways. They're going to have to replace him in 19 or 2020.
Well, maybe Matt's going to become a full-time driver type coach, in some role with all the Toyota teams or something like that. I really have no idea what his plans are. It just doesn't sound like he's going to be with Gibbs.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We'll announce the big 5-week contest coming up starting in a couple of weeks here on the Front Stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Hey race fans, the Race Saver IMCA Sprint Car Nationals return to America's home track, Eagle Raceway, September 2nd through the 4th. Come watch over 125 sprint cars from all over the great United States and Canada. Qualifying features Friday and Saturday nights, as well as the Jake Ida Memorial Race of Champions. Sunday's action will include last chance qualifiers, and the fastest 27 cars will start 3 abreast in the 50-lap feature to crown our champion. Save some cash. Pick up a 3-day pass for only $30. Green flag times and more details are at eagleraceway.com.
And we're back with Kansas Speedway, who is still sorry.
That's right. I'm, really sorry to the coworkers of my fans who have to listen to all that loud talking on Monday. And sorry my drink prices won't turn your weekend into a loan application. And sorry the chase for the championship is more exciting than your last date.
The chase is on as the Sprint Cup Series Championship rolls in Sunday, October 16th for the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Dan and Dirk are rolling into turn 2 with a little attitude on the front stretch.
A lot of attitude today, buddy.
I think it's safe to say we got a little bit of strut in our walk today after laying in this contest. Turn 2 brought to you by Kansas Speedway, the Hollywood Casino 400. Tickets are available now for the Sunday, October 16th race. You can call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com. One great thing that I have absolutely loved about going to Iowa Speedway and Kansas Speedway is, I don't you really want to talk about this, but it's more than just a game day event. And honestly, if you're treating Kansas Speedway or Iowa Speedway tickets as get there an hour before the race, walk in, grab some food, grab some beer, go to your seats, watch the race, and leave, you're really missing out on a lot of it. Every time that I've gone to one of these NASCAR sanctioned tracks, if it be the IndyCar race at Iowa or it be the Kansas Speedway races or even to Knoxville, I mean, Knoxville does it fantastic. You get there 4 or 5 hours before the gates open, well, I guess not for the gates open, but before the
green flag
drops, because you can walk around and see all there is to experience. There's U.S. Cellular is one of the big sponsors at Iowa Speedway. They always have a big booth there. You can get information. You can lower your cell phone bill. It seems to be that every cell phone carrier says you can lower their bill, yet my bill stays the same every time I change.
Well, I mean, they've got so much to do. I mean, a couple of years ago, I went on the outside at Kansas. And they had a big Plinko board. If you ever watched The Price is Right, they had this huge Plinko board, and you went up, you climbed up this ladder and got up on top of this, and you dropped a Goodyear Eagle.
The Plinko was a Goodyear Eagle.
Was a race tire, and if you got it in the right thing at the bottom, you won a prize.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I was like, what the heck is that? So I walked over to check it out. Yeah, they were dropping Goodyear Eagles down this Plinko board.
When I was walking on Iowa Speedway for the June Xfinity race, I was walking out front, and Chevy had a display of all their 2016 cars that they were just releasing, or mid-year releases, and I found a Chevy Colorado that I'm kind of in the market to replace my Ranger right now. She's just about at 90,000 miles, and I think 10,000 of them have been put on there in August alone between the trips back and forth to central Iowa. But, I mean, this Colorado was absolutely I was drooling looking at this thing. It was completely decked out with off-road package and roll bars and hunting lights and 10 different things that I didn't need with my daily commute from Council Bluffs, but I wanted it. And I mean, that's where I opened up to see the Chevy Colorados. And since then, I've been going around to dealerships looking at Chevy Colorados, trying to find the right one. But it's like you said, pre-race concerts, food, contests. There's
the simulators. They've got the pit stop simulator where you do the 5-on, 5-off. Here a year or two ago, Toyota outside, they took a section of the parking lot and made almost like a little motocross track, and they were driving Tundras on it, demonstrating, their ground clearance and all that type stuff. So you could drive a Tundra on this little track. I mean, they just have a ton of stuff there. They'll get booths like with Dale Earnhardt when he was associated with the National Guard. The National Guard always had a booth there. It was kind of neat to be able to stop by and thank the guys for serving our country.
Oh, in the merch trailers.
Oh.
I mean, it's been reduced considerably since the I can't remember the company that licensed that from NASCAR, and there used to be 30 merch trailers, and 4 of them were Dale Earnhardt Senior trailers. But the merch trailers from the track to the top drivers still have their own merch trailers now that they haul around. But yeah, it really is an experience, and I highly suggest you take advantage of the price. Make a weekend out of it. The thing that always irks me the most is the hotel prices, because we're August. So if you're going to book your hotel rooms for October, you're probably, if you want to be within a half hour of the track, you're probably going to be at about $150, $175 a night.
And it doesn't matter where you're at. And in all honesty, once the date's announced for the race, if you try and book that weekend, you can try a year in advance. You're going to pay the high price. Got nothing to do with being so late.
And it's simply because
supply and demand.
What do you spend? About 40 or 50,000 people come into that area, and they all need hotel rooms because they're not from that area. And then probably another 10 or 15,000 are from that area. That you could easily get a Roach Motel, and honestly, you could spend all your day at the track and probably be more comfortable. But if you want a decent hotel within, and that's the toughest thing about NASCAR, is that you spend 3 days there. You stay Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. You come home Sunday after the race. You're at about $550, $600 for hotel room, and that's for you and I. If you got a family, it's pretty expensive. But the tickets, they've done a really good job about making the tickets affordable to get into the races. And you buy weekend packages, and you get discounts, and you get extra stuff with those weekend tickets.
Track if you've got a mobile home or if you've got a nice fifth wheel trailer.
Absolutely,
they sell great packages. I mean, the packages come with infield passes and stuff like that. And of course, it's something now that the track's been around for 15 years. Some of the people that started towards the center of the track that aren't the prime, spots, they've been able to move out and get better spots out towards, the outside where you can see better. They've got the big expensive spots up along the outside of the track and on the back straightaway.
Yeah, Rick Havenridge, who's a big supporter of the show and a contestant in the season-long contest, He's got infield tickets, and he loves having his. He's done up his RV with some special seats while he watches the races, and he's got some fishing seats up there.
Like bass fishing seats.
360-degree swivel. Yeah. Yep. And Chris Morris, we know him, and from Quaker Steak and Lube, and Joe Kaczynski has an RV spots out there. So those campsites are really a good value, because with the cost of with the sites, you get tickets into the races and passes and that stuff.
Well, you spend that much money for an RV, you also want to use the thing. So.
Absolutely. All right, here's the 5-week contest. We're really excited to announce this after, that was about a 8-minute sponsors credit. By the way, Turn 2 brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets are available now, 866-460-RACE, 866-460-RACE, or visit KansasSpeedway.com.
You did that right at the start of that segment, too. So.
I needed to make sure, since we're at the end of it, too, let's wrap it back up. But Stan Caesar just confirmed he'll be in Turn 3, and we'll talk to him about the races at Eagle Raceway last night. But let's get to this 5-week contest. We'll take a couple of minutes to talk about it. We've done these 5-week contests before, and this is going to kick off with the race at Darlington. So we have a couple of weeks for people to get registered. A1, you have to be 18 years or older and of legal residency in the United States. It's absolutely free. Those are the two most important things about this.
Absolutely free.
There's no purchase necessary. There is nothing. The only thing that you may a little bit at is that we use your email address to collect all of the registries and to submit your picks for each week. We submit those to Kansas Speedway. They ask for those for marketing. So if you agree to be a part of the contest, then you will get that email address. They have the Front Stretch's email address, and they have your email address because you've always been a part of the contest, even though you can't win it. So I've submitted your email address too. Have you ever gotten a single piece of marketing from them?
Not like Edward Williams sends me from Iowa Speedway. He is the king of the email.
Absolutely.
Not great guy, but king of the email.
They're not going to flood your email with daily or weekly emails.
Not. I think I get 1 or 2 a year. When the race is coming up, hey, don't forget about our race type thing. Right.
So here's the contest. It's called the Crewman for a Day, presented by Kansas Speedway. You're going to have the opportunity to be a crewman. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about this. For Brendan Gaughan's 62 Xfinity team with Richard Childress Racing.
Good friend of the show.
On that Saturday, October 15th, we're getting you passes through Kansas Speedway, so you arrive at the track that morning. at your leisure, we'll get you a schedule so that you know when you need to be where. But you'll arrive at the track that day. Typically, Xfinity has practice and qualifying that day.
They'll have qualifying in the race on Saturday.
Right. And so you'll meet with the team. You'll meet Brendan. You'll talk to him a little bit. And let me tell you, a little bit, when you talk to him a little bit, that'll be about an hour.
Goes a long way.
That'll be about an hour. So you'll talk to Brendan, and then you will get some South Point Chevrolet gear, which South Point's probably going to be the big sponsor for that day. If it's another sponsor, you'll get T-shirts and stuff from them.
You're going to get a team shirt, not a T-shirt, a team shirt.
You're going to follow the car through pre-qualifying inspections. So you're going to watch as it goes through all the templates, and you're going to be able to ask these crewmen different questions. Find out why they're doing this. What's this?
And some of these guys are lazy, so they might tell you to work on the car. So just don't be surprised if that happens.
Maybe you could put a little wedge into Brendan's car. Who knows?
And maybe you can give them a little idea on what to do.
So then, once it goes through qualifying, you'll be able to go, or pre-qualifying inspection. There'll be a little bit of downtime as all the cars have gone through inspection, so you'll be able to kind of walk around and experience the Xfinity garage.
And actually, in all honesty, that'll probably be the time they get to meet Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be in between when the car goes through tech and when the actual qualifying starts.
Now, qualifying,
Brendan likes to sleep in.
Yeah, who doesn't? Qualifying, you'll be able to sit on the pit box with a radio and listen as Brendan is out there qualifying, hopefully putting his car on the pole, if not getting into the second or third round of qualifying. Right?
Well, I'm hoping. It literally depends on what they end up with sponsors, as far as you'll be able to get on the pit box, at least for picture opportunities. Whether you'll be able to stay there all the way through qualifying or not is going to depend on what they have show up for sponsors. That's something that they can't control yet and don't know yet.
And it'll be the same thing for the race. We'll be able to get you up there. He said that for a portion of the race at least. But there may be some sponsors they got to take care of. But hopefully there won't be a lot of sponsors that show up that day, and you'll be able to sit up there the entire time and listen as Shane Wilson, the crewman, the crew chief for Brendan Gaughan, and Brendan and the spotter, and maybe even Richard Childress are chiming back and forth talking about what they could do with the car. You're going to get the experience of what it's like to be a crewman for a day with Richard Childress Racing and the 62 of Brendan Gaughan.
Very unique experience, and you're going to get to take somebody with you. It's going to have 2 passes involved, so you can bring husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, whoever it happens to be, your BFF, and they can document things, take pictures of you hanging with Brendan, so your Facebook page can be blown up.
Yeah.
Your Twitter account can go crazy. It's a unique experience. These guys will be pretty candid with you. Shane's very experienced crew chief. He's been doing it for a long time. He's been on the Cup level. I met him originally back in 2001 when he worked with Brendan, when Brendan was the Winston West Series champ. And Brendan's a very personable guy. His dad was born here in Omaha, so we've become very good friends. And he's a great friend of the show.
He's so energetic, and he's so just charismatic, and you're going to have a great time with him. If you want to be a part of this contest, email us right now, frontstretch590@gmail.com. We got a couple of weeks until the contest kicks off, but might as well get your registration in early. We'll send you the full rules so that you can read them over and agree to them, and you can get set for it. Absolutely free. Must be 18 years or older and a legal U.S. resident, and that's about it. Then there's the strategy to the contest, or the way the contest rolls out, but the top winner, the grand prize winner, is going to be the crewman for a day, and they're also going to get Cup Series tickets that day. So you'll go sit up in the grandstands for the Cup Series on Sunday. Second, third, fourth, and fifth are all going to win a pair of tickets to Saturday and Sunday's races at Kansas Speedway. So it's a big contest.
Free.
It's not just the winners that are going to win it all. We hope you be a part of it. Again, send us your email, fredstretch590@gmail.com. We'd love to get you to be a part of the Kansas Speedway contest. It's the Crewman for a Day presented by Kansas Speedway and the Richard Childress Racing Organization. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. We'll talk with the voice of the Speedway, Stan Caesar, will join us here on the Front Stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Rolling into turn number 3 here on the front stretch, and it's time to talk a little bit of dirt track action. So we got on the phone the voice of the Speedway, Stan Caesar. How you doing this morning, sir? Oh, Stan, you got us there, bud?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we got you now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Oh, I am surviving this flu, cold, allergies that is going around.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, talking about turn 3, that was probably the safest place to be last night down at America's home track. They had a lot of rain down there in that area. We got rained out for Friday night at I-80, but Saturday night, Roger worked all day long, got that track in raceable shape, but boy, it was a tacky, fast racetrack with a lot of grip. And the cars were, the weather conditions were right. It seemed like, man, the cars were faster last night than I've seen them for a long time. But unfortunately, usually the aftermath of that is some attrition. And boy, they tore up some equipment last night.
It was some of the cars. Can you talk about some of the cars that were involved in some big ones that?
Well, things started off in the heat race. Boyd Peterson got up and over pretty hard down in turns 1 and 2 in the 57B sprint car division. We had incidents in the heat races, in the sprint cars, in the B main, in the A main. Probably the worst crash. Terry Richards just built a brand new race car, and I think on Facebook it was documented. They built a car from a bare chassis to a complete race-ready car to hit the track in 27 and a half hours.
Wow.
And unfortunately, turn 4 bit him in that A feature, and he got up and over, and when he landed right on top of the wing of Sean Pointer's car. Sean drove right underneath him and made some pretty heavy contact, and Sean had suffered a neck injury, and he was transported, but the word is he had put a post up this morning that thanked to Bryan Medical and the Eagle Fire and Rescue and all the track crew and everything like that for the great care, and everybody rallied around the team, and got his parents to the hospital and got the car loaded up for him and stuff like that. But a tough break, because he's been on a roll lately, and this is his 3rd season in the sprint cars, and he's a contender just about every time he pulls on the track. But not probably the worst end of the deal in the Sport Compact feature. The guy that was running up near the front, Scott Spellmeyer, one of the leaders, lost a right rear wheel, and that car barrel rolled about 6 times, just side over side and over end down in turn 1 and 2 again. And unfortunately, the car rolled when he lost that wheel. It dug in and did a series of flips. But the good thing is Scott was able to climb out okay. But boy, it was a fast and heavy racetrack last night. And a great field of cars, like 163 cars, I believe, was the final count. 35 sprint cars. So for the 4th consecutive week, over 30 sprint cars and 4 heats of sprint cars in the house. And everybody kind of gearing up. The Race Saver IMCA Sprint Car Nationals coming up on Labor Day weekend. Everybody kind of gearing up for that thing. So, yeah,
it's going to be a big weekend for you guys. Take a quick break. Let's preview that really, really quickly, because I know we're going to have you on the show. By the way, Stan, I'm going to have you on the show next weekend to preview that race.
Sounds great. We can do that.
What's the car count at right now for pre-registered for the Nationals?
Well, it's still sitting right at around 135 cars, and a lot of cars that pre-entered, and who knows, they could have a night like we had last night, and guys are tearing up equipment, or guys having problems with engines, and So some guys have dropped off the back end. They've indicated they aren't going to make their entry, but yet people are still entering. So we're kind of maintaining right at about 135 cars, which is great, but it's plenty.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's going to be a full weekend of racing, and we talked about it just a little bit. On the qualifying nights, if we're having 12 heat races, 14 heat races, you're going to have to win your heat just to make the qualifying A main that night, plus transfer some cars out of the B main. So it's going to be a pretty tough field, and to qualify for that race champions, you have to have been a previous champion in the top 20 in national points or a previous nationals winner. And I think we've got probably 25 to 30 cars already pre-entered in that. And these guys are all champions and all hitters. So that's going to be quite an event too. The Jake Ida Memorial Race of Champions, that'll be coming up on Saturday night of that weekend. But let's get back to this week's action. Yeah. We had a new old winner in the Napa Auto Parts Sport Mod division. Gary Sadoff out of Beatrice, Nebraska, came up with the win in that deal. And then a guy that's really doing pretty good. He's currently sitting fifth in the National IMCA Hobby Stock points. Damon Richard. Damon has coming off 4 consecutive second-place finishes in that hobby stock division. Finally picked up the A feature win last night. So that's going to drop off, I believe, couple of his finishes, and it might improve his standings in that national standings, and that season's starting to wind down just a little bit. In the IMCA modified division, a guy that was a regular years ago at Eagle Raceway never missed a week, and then he started traveling around a little bit, doing a lot of different tracks on Saturday night, but he's been back, and boy, he had a strong run last night, and that was Clint Holman out of Bellevue, Nebraska. Clint in the GRT chassis was fast in his heat race, and he did it again in that A main, and I tell you what, there was a lot of heat there right behind him. But Clint had that car on a rail last night, and just a working unit, and it was a very popular win. And Clint was really enjoying being back in the victory lane at Eagle, he says he's glad to be back, and looks like he's going to become a regular once again in the Saturday night action.
Awesome. I know Clint's been, coming on strong lately at I-80 Speedway, so it's good to see him get the win at Eagle.
He's getting that thing dialed in the Sport Compact division. Zach Bullmeyer up out of Beatrice, Nebraska. After Spellmeyer's misfortune, he picked up the win in that division, and very, very soft-spoken guy. Had to pull about every word out of him during the victory lane interview. But he had a great run, and he had that car working, and he said he's probably going to be coming up a little bit more often because he really liked the track and liked the crowd, and it was an awesome deal. That brought us to our sprint car A main event. And it was a slugfest right from the drop of the green flag. And as I said, a few incidents and unfortunately a couple cars getting damaged. But the top 3 or 4 guys going on, you had Stu Snyder up there, Shaylee Bade, Mike Boston, Jason Martin, and Shaylee Bade, probably one of the races of her life. She picked up the win in that race, and I tell you, she was passed by Martin and got Martin back. She was passed by Snyder and got Snyder back, and just did not give up. And then after the race was over with, found out it was her dad's birthday, and she dedicated the victory not only to Brian Clausen, but her dad, Butch, who's put a great race car underneath her last night. The thing was bad fast, and she drove the wheels off of it.
Well, good for her. I heard on Facebook that she got in that win, so well-deserved, and it's good to hear that she fought for it and wasn't kind of a lockdown track, so it was kind of one of those big pride wins for her.
Oh no! I tell you what, that track would take as much horsepower as you gave it last night, and looking at lap times, even some of the faster guys in the P and all night long, there was maybe a second between the fastest lap times in any given race, in the sprint car division in general, and the 35th fastest car. So I mean, you got to scratch and claw and work for every position, every lap, and I can't believe how tough this thing's going to be when the Nationals come rolling around in a couple of weeks.
Well, it had to be pretty special for her to win for her dad too.
Oh yeah, she was elated. Of course, was up on top of the wing, and she's a crowd favorite down there. She comes up and talks to people a lot during the intermission break, and all the ladies, of course, are always cheering for her. And it was a pretty neat deal to see her finally get the win because she's had a very good season. Talking about just the toughness of the competition and how hard it is to compete against the guys, and you're seeing more guys, more top caliber drivers showing up, every week. And it's like I said, to win an A feature down there, you have had to beat the best. Unfortunately, your points leader, Tyler Drucke, had an engine expire in the heat race. He was able to hop in Dan Satriano's car and start last in the B, but didn't make it up to a transfer spot. And I mean, he's got a pretty solid lead in the points at Eagle, but it really kind of hurt him in the national standings. He had just moved up into fourth and was only 2 points out of third and less than 10 points out of second. And it was looking like he's going to make a run, and he still might yet. He's still got some races to go, points races between now and the end of the year. We got some good news this week after 4 rainouts for the Sprint Series in Nebraska. We found out that they're going to do a makeup weekend. We're going to have a big doubleheader out at the US 30 Speedway. That'll be coming up on Friday and Saturday, September 23rd and 24th. So that'll be a good way to end that Sprint Series in Nebraska Race Saver Sprint Tour. And of course, next Friday night we head on out to I-80, the Bill Smith Memorial Race coming up, and that'll be featuring the Nebraska 360 Sprint Series also. So
it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. Dirt season's kind of starting to wrap up, but it's hot and heavy still.
I hear you. I'll tell you what, you got to take care of that flu and that laryngitis because we got some talking to do next Friday night.
Amen. What else you got going on, Stan? Anything else? Is that going to wrap it up?
That's probably pretty good. Like I said, just another night at the races. We had everybody taking the selfies, and there's a lot of them on Facebook last night, and kind of a neat deal. We're trying to get people the 4-wide parade lap with the sprint cars and all the pyrotechnics going off in the background, and people turning around trying to get a selfie with themselves with the field in the background, and there was a couple pretty cool ones. So.
All right, Stan Caesar, the voice of the Speedway. You can catch him weekly at Eagle Raceway. You can catch him most of the nights, Friday nights at I-80 Speedway, at the Nebraska 360s, as he is the voice of that, and the Sprint Series in Nebraska, the voice of. So, Stan, have a good Sunday, bud.
Hey, you too, buddy. See you, Dirk, too. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dan.
And make sure you get your tickets for the Race Saver Nationals at Eagle Raceway coming up Friday. There's a Thursday night practice. That's free to the public. Friday night, $10 for general admission. Saturday night, $12 for general admission. And Sunday, the championship day, is $15 for general admission. If you do your math, and I think I did mine right, that's $37 for the weekend. Save yourself $7, buy the 3-day pass, and then you can have a little bit of money left over for a steak sandwich and a beer.
They got steak sandwiches there.
They got steak sandwiches. They're pretty good.
Their tenderloins are pretty good too.
Yeah. So the IMCA Race Saver Nationals coming up at Eagle Raceway. That's going to be Labor Day weekend, September 3rd, 4th, and September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Yeah, because then Labor Day's the 5th. And we'll be live on that Sunday to recap the Friday night, Saturday night action, preview Sunday night. And then it's also Championship Sunday at I-80 Speedway on that Sunday of Labor Day. So we got a lot of racing action to talk about for that Sunday, September 4th. While you're going to be on vacation, you're headed down south.
No, actually heading west. That's going to be Colorado's where I'm headed for that weekend. Right. But another unique thing about that sprint car race is they start that feature 3-wide.
Which was a concern for a couple of years, but I think the drivers are starting to get used to it now.
Well, they know they can't win on the first lap, so they let the field stretch out for a lap or two, and they get through it pretty well.
But it's pretty exciting because I don't know if anybody's ever been to Eagle Raceway, but it's not that. I mean, it's a high banked track, and there is just enough room for 3 sprint cars to go 3 wide, but it narrows up pretty quick.
Well, it narrows up real quick coming out of 2.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 4. We will kind of talk a little bit about Bristol today, and then we've got one conversation I want to talk about that is a little bit time-sensitive. It talks about rain-out decisions by the tracks. So we'll be back here on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Hey race fans, the Race Saver IMCA Sprint Car Nationals return to America's home track, Eagle Raceway, September 2nd through the 4th. Come watch over 125 sprint cars from all over the great United States and Canada. Qualifying features Friday and Saturday nights, as well as the Jake Ida Memorial Race of Champions. Sunday's action will include last chance qualifiers, and the fastest 27 cars will start 3 abreast in the 50-lap feature to crown our champion. Save some cash. Pick up a 3-day pass for only $30. Green flag times and more details are at eagleraceway.com.
And we're back with Kansas Speedway, who is still sorry.
That's right. I'm, really sorry to the coworkers of my fans who have to listen to all that loud talking on Monday. And sorry my drink prices won't turn your weekend into a loan application. And sorry the chase for the championship is more exciting than your last date.
The chase is on as the Sprint Cup Series Championship rolls in Sunday, October 16th for the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch.
After this new contest, we'll be able to make a commercial like that because we're going to have to be sorry that they'll never be able to look at a race the same way again.
Let me tell you, I've had some dates that the chase is definitely more exciting than that date was. So that is what you call true advertising. They hit the nail on the head. Get your tickets today for the Hollywood Casino 400, Sunday, October 16th. By calling 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com and get to Quaker Steak and Lube today for all of the green flag action at Bristol Motor Speedway for the Irwin Tools NRA night race, gonna be day race at Bristol. That goes off today. The green flag is set to schedule to wave at noon on NBCSN and
Noon Central
MRN.
Time.
Right, noon our time, noon Central Time. 1 o'clock Eastern time. So, all right, I wanted to talk a little bit about the track's decisions for when to do rainouts. Now, the plan is in the offseason, we're going to get pretty in-depth with this. We're going to get a couple of different track promoters, some drivers, and some fans on a panel, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit in-depth conversation. The plan is we're going to do it at Quaker Steak and Lube. So be sure to be watching the Front Stretch Facebook page. If you want to come and watch that show and hear it live and then contribute, we'd love to hear from you. But I wanted to talk about this today because on Friday, we had the issue of there was rain coming that night, at least predicted to be rain coming that night. And at about 1:30 on Friday afternoon, I-80 Speedway posted that as of right now, I-80 Speedway is still on. And I thumbed through some of the 25, 30 different comments, and most of them were pretty positive. But there was a couple of people that for some reason just don't quite comprehend that there are a lot of factors that go into whether decision to make to call a race or not. At that point, the track was dry. There was no water on the track except for what Steve Koziski had laid down. And there was a forecast for rain. Now, Dirk, how many times have you seen that there was a 70, 80% chance of rain and it stayed bone dry?
Oh, I've never seen that. Meteorologists are perfect.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's
Just ask them.
The thing is, I've watched this happen time and time again. As the booth announcer at I-80 and wanting to get out there and go and watch the race, I'll look at the hourly forecast and it'll say it's going to start raining at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Pretty soon it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Then it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And it just keeps getting pushed back. And we didn't call the races. The races ran and we went running that night. And if you'd have called it because of the weather forecast at 10 a.m. that day or 1:30 that afternoon, you'd have been out a lot of great racing action.
Well, Silver Dollar Nationals was that way. Remember, at 10 o'clock, we were supposed to get 80% chance.
Yeah.
Then it was pushed back to 11 o'clock, then midnight, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
And it never did drop anything.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of people that just absolutely blasted I-80 Speedway for not calling the races at 1:30 that afternoon because of the chance of forecast that day. Let's state the obvious here. I-80 Speedway's got an obligation to the drivers and to the fans that they are an entertainment venue.
And their sponsors.
Right. And if they can hold the races, they should hold the races. But they also understand that it's frustrating for fans and drivers to haul out there, get set up and ready to go at 5:30, 6 o'clock for hot laps and the green flag action, maybe get a couple of hot laps in, heat races in, and the races are rained out. The policy for the fans is that they will honor those tickets generally at a makeup date. If they don't make up the date, then they'll refund the tickets. But for the drivers, you're already out some money because you spent the money to get out there, which was gas money. But I-80 Speedway, I think all the tracks, and I shouldn't just center I-80 Speedway, but there are about 30 different factors that go into this. And it's really discouraging to watch people blast the track on Facebook for trying to do what they're there to do. Right? I mean, am I crazy in this thought?
No, I mean, people have gotten on this social media deal. I wonder seriously how many tracks have closed because of the bashing that people do on these things. And a lot of tracks now, they will go block you from their site for bashing the track. I mean, people, that's one of the big problems with the sport.
Iowa State Fairgrounds Speedway fined 2 drivers this year already for Facebook bashing. And their honest opinion is, if you're not going to come to us and tell us, then you shouldn't be going on social media and trashing our reputation, because the track has a side of it. How many times have we seen, and this happens in NASCAR, when a driver who has the biggest bully pulpit of all, NASCAR can make a statement all they want to, but when a driver says something post-race, it is much louder than a NASCAR statement on Monday afternoon.
Well, let's take Tony Stewart and the Lugnuts.
Yeah. Something that NASCAR had said previously we're going to take a look at. And Tony came out 4 days later and said, this is unsafe. NASCAR's doing yada, yada, yada. Criticized NASCAR. And so NASCAR said, you know what, dude? You've got the bigger voice than all of us, because you've got the bigger – I mean, you're the fan base. Here's an X amount of dollar fine.
Yeah, $35,000 or whatever it was.
And kindly come and talk to us about it before and express your opinion, rather than going and killing us out in social media. And this is no different than what we're seeing on I-80's Facebook. I saw it on Adams County earlier this year when they tried to run the races. They tried and tried and tried, and the races ended up getting rained out, and fans were mad. It sucks, and it stunk for me as the announcer, because I left work early. I went home. I got all my stuff packed up. I was about to head out to the track when I got the notification that it was canceled. Had I been out at the track, I'd have wasted my gas to get out there. But you know what? I would rather get out there and have a track that is willing to get the race in, rather than have a track that at the first sign of rain throws up the white flag and says, we're not running. Can't do it. It's going to rain tonight, because it happened with I-80 this year. They went and did the precautious thing. There was, I think it was the Alphabet Soup race, or it was a big MLRA CBC race. It was a big race with all the different, with a lot of different sanctioning bodies and a lot of big late model guys coming from all over the country. And they called the races at 10 o'clock that morning.
That was that early Lucas Oil race.
Yeah. They had
the Tuesday show, the Go 50.
Yeah. Because they had all those guys coming. They called the race early that day because there was good prediction of rain coming that night. And unfortunately, it didn't rain at all. And I-80, again, was blasted on the track because they tried to do the precautious thing and save drivers and fans gas money getting to the track. And they get blasted. So then today, on Friday, they try to get the races in, and they try to call the races as close to race flag and they get blasted. And it's unfortunately, you really feel bad for these tracks, because it is a no-win situation.
Well, Dan, unfortunately, you are like me, and the fact that we've never been married, so we would have learned a long time ago. We'd have learned the lesson that you can't please everybody all the time.
And that's been the case throughout all of humanity. But unfortunately, now people have the opportunity to go on Facebook and do some serious damage
Twitter,
to a Facebook. And the other one that really irritates me, and this is another topic we're going to talk about, is people blasting a track for car count. And I will stand up in front of anybody that says that car count determines a good race, and I will say, no, it does not. It does not determine good racing, because the World of Outlaws brings 35 cars to a race, and 10 of them are regulars on the circuit. The other ones are backfillers. They're not going to be true contenders for the win. Those 10 that are consistently on the track, those are the ones that are putting on the good show. So explain to me how, when there is a 20 to 25 car sprint car field, that it's going to be a bad race. But if we add 5 more backfillers, 10 more backfillers, it's all of a sudden going to be a magnificent race.
Well, I really don't think that people are bashing the 25 car counts. I mean, I'd like to see a B feature every night in every class.
Absolutely.
I don't care for a 10 car field a heat and a feature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care for that. And again, I've been to a lot of races. I've been around it a long time. The race in Lakeside the other day where they had 120 plus modifieds, ended up with a rainout. But when you've got 16 car heats, every heat was a B feature. That is crazy. And that's too many cars. You're sending home way too many drivers.
That was a special circumstance for the Grant Youngins Memorial Race. It was a big paying purse, so it drew a lot of guys. And unfortunately, it got rained out, which I've heard they're going to make up September 30th to October 1st. I don't know if that's going to be a 2-day makeup or if they're just setting those 2 dates as rainout dates.
They had them set beforehand. Somebody asked that on Facebook the other night. If this does rain out, when are we going to do it? And Todd Staley, the head of the USMTS, he had announced before the race that they had that rain-out date already set.
So I guess my point in this final conversation as we wrap up the show for today is you really got to put yourself in somebody else's shoes before you jump on Facebook and destroy them. Because you see it your way. But sit back and try to see it from the track promoter's perspective.
You're damaging the sport, not just that track.
Absolutely.
You're damaging the sport in general.
Absolutely, Dirk. Couldn't have said it better myself. We're going to end it for today. We'll be back next weekend. We're going to be recorded. We will get you more information on the Kansas Speedway Crewman for a Day contest. We're going to play the interview with Dave Despain from Knoxville.
Great interview.
That was a great 20 minutes we got from Dave. We're also going to talk to Stan Caesar about the Race Saver Nationals at Eagle Raceway. Get you set for that final weekend or get you one final set for that weekend of racing. We'll be back next weekend to do it all again. This has been The Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
And we're back with Kansas Speedway, who is still sorry.
That's right. I'm, really sorry to the coworkers of my fans who have to listen to all that loud talking on Monday. And sorry my drink prices won't turn your weekend into a loan application. And sorry the chase for the championship is more exciting than your last date.
The chase is on as the Sprint Cup Series Championship rolls in Sunday, October 16th for the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
You're welcome.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.